Hello everyone, it's Serenity. I know you use this audio to fall asleep, so before you drift off, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And while you are here, drop a comment, tell me where you're from and what time you are listening. Now, get comfortable, relax, and prepare for a sweet descent into stillness. There is a place far beyond the edges of any map, past the spiraling galaxies and soft rings of sleeping planets. A place not made of time or noise or things you can hold. It's a realm woven from quiet thoughts and stardust, where dreams float like clouds and stars sing lullabies. Its name is Somnara, the dream belt of the cosmos. No spaceship has ever flown there. No satellite has ever blinked its signal through it. Somnara appears only to those who need it, when sleep tugs at their minds like the gentle hand of a friend. Tonight, a little traveler named Elian drifted close. Elian was not from Somnara. He lived aboard a tiny sleep pod orbiting a moon named Lycaria, a place of soft blue rocks and silver moss that glowed in the starlight. Elian's job was simple. He was a star listener. Every night, he recorded the hum of nearby stars, capturing their songs with a crystal sphere known as a lumen orb. But lately, Elian hadn't been able to sleep. Even the most ancient star songs couldn't soothe him. The usual comfort of the slow-turning cosmos wasn't enough. Something in his chest felt adrift. So one night, instead of curling into a sleep hammock, Elian stared out the observatory window of his pod. He watched the moonlight shimmer on the control panels, felt the quiet press of space all around him, and let his thoughts wander. Then he saw a faint ribbon of light curling through the stars. It shimmered like gossamer thread, twisting softly as if being pulled by some invisible hand. It wasn't on any of his maps. It didn't show on his navigation sensors. He followed it, not with controls, not with engines, but with his breath, with his mind. Elian closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he was floating not in his pod, but inside a place both endless and impossibly warm. Stars blinked slowly above and below, not in points, but soft blooms of golden and lavender light. The air, if you could call it that, smelled faintly of honey and lavender tea. He was in Somnara. From the stardust floor rose great dreaming trees with roots of silver that curled in loops like spirals of time. Some trees had leaves shaped like feathers, others like glassy bubbles that drifted upward and burst in silence. Between them were gentle rivers made of liquid night with ripples that shimmered with stories. "Hello," said a voice beside him, light as a whisper, but not frightening. Elian turned to see a creature shaped like a soft moth, with wings that looked like painted galaxies. Her eyes glowed like moons. "I'm Leora," she said kindly. "You must be lost or dreaming." "I think I'm both," Elian admitted. "What is this place?" Leora fluttered beside him, trailing sparkles like sugar in tea. "Somnara, where the stars come to rest, where tired minds drift when they're too full to sleep." Elian blinked slowly, letting the place sink into his skin like warmth. "I've been listening to stars for years," he said softly, "but I've forgotten how to dream." Leora smiled, a slow, glowing smile that made Elian feel wrapped and calm. "Then you're in the right place," she whispered. She motioned for him to follow, and together they floated through glowing trees and whispering constellations. Shapes passed them slowly, dreams of others. A fish made of light leapt gently from one floating island to another. A child slept curled on a cloud shaped like a cat. A glass whale the size of a house sang a note that made everything shimmer. Elian looked around, heart full. Why don't people talk about this place? Leora drifted in a slow loop. Because it's not a place you remember. You carry it in your dreams, but when you wake, it slips away, like fog in sunlight. Elian reached out and touched a passing star petal. It dissolved into tiny flecks of light, then vanished. "Do I have to wake up soon?" he asked. Leora's wings gave a sleepy flutter. "Not until the story is finished." Elian and Leora drifted slowly, like leaves on a quiet stream. Ahead, the starlit forest opened into a wide, floating meadow, a patchwork of soft moss that shimmered like velvet under the lights of passing dreams. The colors shifted subtly as if remembering what colors meant. Lavender to moon blue to pearl, pearl to silver dusk. In the center stood a gently turning spiral made entirely of light and time. It wasn't spinning quickly, only enough to create the softest hum, like a lullaby without words. Dozens of glowing beings sat nearby, eyes closed, breathing in sync with the spiral. Each breath sent tiny motes of starlight rising from their chests. This is the still ground, Leora explained, hovering beside him, where minds can rest completely, no thoughts, just being. Elian watched quietly. He didn't want to speak too loudly, even whispering felt like it would ripple through the gentle stillness. Do they sleep? He asked. In a way, Leora said, landing softly on a cloud. Lily, some are sleeping, some are dreaming, some are simply pausing. Elian felt the longing in his chest again. The part of him that had stayed restless even among the stars. The ache that came from always listening, always searching for meaning in the songs of ancient suns. Can I sit here for a while? He asked. Leora nodded. You may sit for as long as you like. Time doesn't move the same here. Elian walked slowly across the meadow, though there was no ground. His steps made soft pulses beneath his feet, like echoes from a dream. He chose a space beside a dreaming being shaped like a long-tailed comet, its light pulsing slowly with every breath. He closed his eyes, listened, and for the first time in many cycles, there was no data to collect, no songs to record, just a warm hum and the feeling of being wrapped in stillness. No urgency, no noise, no need to be anything but here. Minutes passed, or hours, or centuries. In Somnara, it was impossible to tell. When Elian opened his eyes again, the spiral still turned, and Leora sat waiting nearby, her wings tucked gently around herself. He felt lighter, as though 1,000 worries had turned to mist and floated off. Where do the dreams come from? He asked softly as he stood. Leora led him toward a narrow bridge made of flowing light, like a silver ribbon tied between two floating moons. Below them drifted memory clouds, translucent scenes slowly spinning, a child hugging a constellation-shaped toy, a song being written under candlelight, a home shaped like a treehouse nestled on the edge of a cliff. Dreams are born from unspoken wishes, she said. Not always the kind you say out loud. Some come from the quietest corners of your heart. They cross the bridge in silence. At the far end stood an old observatory, not the mechanical kind Elian knew from his pod, but a living structure made of curved starwood and breathing vines. The dome overhead shimmered like water, revealing thousands of sky paths and drifting lanterns. Whose observatory is this? Elian asked. Yours, Leora said simply. He blinked. You mean I've been here before? Leora only smiled and opened the door for him. Inside, the walls glowed with gentle memory light. Star charts danced on the ceiling, drawn in threads of silver flame. A desk made of folded nebula stone sat in the corner, covered in glowing books with blank pages waiting. Elian stepped toward them. As he opened one, his breath caught. On the page was a drawing of him, not as he was now, but younger, sitting on the floor of his childhood bedroom on Earth, eyes wide as he gazed through a tiny cardboard telescope, dreaming of faraway stars. The caption read, "The first night he wondered what songs the stars might sing, he opened another. This time he saw himself asleep in his pod, long ago, a faint smile on his lips as dream wings curled around his shoulders. The first time Somnara whispered his name, I don't remember these dreams, Elian whispered. They remember you, Leora said gently. She gestured to a final book larger than the rest, its cover glowing with a soft pulse like a heartbeat. Elian hesitated, then opened it. Inside was blankness, at first. Then, slowly, glowing words began to write themselves. The night he returned to the place where silence sings, where rest grows wild like starlight vines. And where sleep at last found him. Elian didn't speak. He only sat at the desk, breathing in the peace of the observatory. For the first time in longer than he could remember, he felt safe. Elian spent some timeless stretch in the observatory, though it might have been only moments or the length of a dream. He sat quietly, thumbing through memory books, the glow of old wonder warming his hands. Outside, Somnara pulsed gently, its star trees humming low notes of restfulness. Then came a soft tapping. It wasn't knocking, more like the brush of wings on the air. He turned toward the arched doorway, and there, perched on a spiraling beam of dreamlight, was a creature the size of a pillow, a star owl, its feathers threaded with constellations. It blinked slowly, respectfully, and extended one talon to drop a small folded scroll at Elian's feet. Elian picked it up. The paper was soft like moss, and as he unrolled it, glowing letters lifted themselves into the air as if shyly revealing their message. The dream current is stirring. Its path is ready. A traveler's vessel awaits. He looked to Leora, who had been sitting silently in the shadows of the dome, her wings now fluttering softly as she rose. "The dream current?" Elian asked. "A gentle stream that passes through all sleepers," she said. "It carries those ready to rest more deeply. You've been invited to ride it. Where does it go?" "Nowhere," she said simply, "and everywhere." He nodded slowly. He was ready. Leora led him from the observatory into a clearing where stardust fell in slow, spiraling flakes. In the center floated a slender boat, made not of wood or metal, but of memory glass and woven sky. It looked delicate but timeless, gently rocking on a ripple of air. As Elian stepped in, the boat curved softly around him, responding to his breath, his posture almost as if it were alive. Leora stood at the edge of the clearing, watching with warm, luminous eyes. "Will I see you again?" he asked. Leora smiled. "Not with your eyes, but I'll be in every quiet moment you allow yourself, in the hush before sleep, in the peace between thoughts." Elian felt something in his chest soften, like a knot untied. "Thank you," he said quietly. She only nodded, and with that, the boat rose, cradled by invisible winds. It turned slowly, following a gentle stream of glowing mist that curled upward like the tail of a comet. As the boat moved, Elian leaned back. The stars above were not just stars, they were memories of light. Some twinkled like laughter, others pulsed like heartbeats. He passed under bridges of thought and over clouds made of dreams that had never been spoken aloud. The dream current was slower than any river he'd ever seen, yet he felt himself moving not just through space, but inward, deeper, quieter. The boat passed beneath an arch made of crescent moons, where soft bells rang without sound. Elian breathed in deeply. The air smelled like night rain and warmth. Every muscle in his body began to release, as if it had waited years for this exact kind of stillness. Along the way, he passed other travelers, each in their own dreamboat. A child curled beside a bear made of mist, an old woman drawing music from the sky using a pen made of wind, a sleeping fox wearing a tiny hat made of stars. No one spoke, but they nodded to one another, the kind of nod that says, "I know this peace. I see you." Then the current began to shift again downward now, towards something vast and soft and quiet. A field of light opened below, shaped like an ocean without water. Its surface shimmered with slow ripples, as though the entire field was breathing. The boat dipped, then gently settled upon the sea of stillness. Above, the stars had dimmed slightly, not gone, only muted, as if they too were ready for slumber. Elian lay down in the boat. It curved gently beneath him, adjusting like a perfectly worn bed. Around him, the ocean of light sighed softly, cradling the boat, lulling it from side to side, and at last his eyelids grew heavy. He thought of his tiny sleep pod orbiting far away around Lysaria, of the blinking control lights, of the silence that had once felt empty but no longer. That silence, he realized, had been waiting for him to find this place. Not to escape life, but to remember the deep hum beneath it, all the hum of rest. His breath slowed. The stars blinked gently, like eyes closing. The boat stilled. Elian did not know how long he had been lying in the dreamboat. Time no longer moved in minutes or hours. It moved in sensations and warmth, in the hush of the air, in the tiny glimmers of light that drifted across the horizon like dandelion seeds in a forgotten garden. Above him, the stars no longer shone with urgency. They pulsed softly, like a sleeping breath, in and out, in and out. The ocean of light rocked him gently, without sound, without need. There was no current now, no direction, only presence. And somewhere in that stillness, Elian began to feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. Weightlessness, not of the body, but of the heart. No worries tugged at his thoughts. No questions pulled on his mind like threads. He was whole not because everything was answered, but because nothing needed to be. Just ahead, a glow rose from the ocean, not bright, not harsh, but familiar. It looked like the kind of light that leaks through your bedroom curtains just before dawn. Gentle, forgiving, warm. The boat moved toward it of its own accord, and Elian, wrapped in the soft curve of the vessel, led it. As they approached, the glow formed into something remarkable, a floating island made entirely of woven dreams. Threads of light, thoughts, and memory tangled into a glowing, cloud-soft nest. Shapes moved slowly within it. A dream, deer leaping through stardust trees, A baker sprinkling sugar on clouds, a quiet boy writing secrets in the sky with his finger. Elian stepped softly onto the island, and it welcomed him. It truly welcomed him. The moment his feet touched its surface, the ground warmed to his skin, forming a nest of starlight moss just for him. A voice not outside him, but within, whispered, "This is your resting place, formed from the dreams you forgot, and the peace you were always worthy of." Elian lay down. Above him, stars dimmed further, becoming little more than soft glows. Around him, the dream shapes danced slower now, gentler, barely moving at all. Even the air felt heavier, like a weighted blanket made of quiet. His eyelids fluttered. The sky rippled once, and a shape came into view, not frightening, not even surprising, just comforting. It was his mother, though she had long passed from the world he came from. She did not speak. She only sat beside him and brushed his hair with a hand made of moonlight. Behind her, other faces appeared. Not clearly, not in detail, but in presence all those he had loved, all those who had once held him when he was small. Their warmth gathered around him like a celestial quilt. He didn't cry, he didn't speak, he simply rested. And in that sacred stillness, another lullaby began, this one not sung by stars, but by the silence itself. A low, humming sound, steady and soft, like the heartbeat of the universe, a rhythm that matched his own breath, a sound that said, "You are safe. You are here. You may let go now." And he did. His body sank deeper into the moss of dreams. The island slowly faded, becoming one with the ocean of light. Even the dreamboat disappeared, as if it had simply been a whisper to guide him here. Elian no longer needed it. He had arrived. The island of woven dreams slowly dissolved beneath him, not disappearing, but blending, merging into the sea of stillness like a breath released at last. Elian no longer felt the shape of his limbs. Not in a frightening way, but in the way you stop noticing a blanket as it warms you. He was cradled by something ancient and kind, held but not bound. The glow above him dimmed until there was only a soft haze. And within that haze floated thousands of tiny, drifting lights, not stars, not dreams, something simpler, memories of rest. One brushed his cheek. A soft summer breeze on a porch swing, back when he was just a boy. Another kissed his forehead. The feeling of being tucked in beneath a thick quilt by a father too tired to speak, but still there. Another settled at his chest. A moment, long forgotten, when he had simply stood outside beneath a snowfall, the whole world hushed, and for once, he hadn't felt alone. Each memory light melted into him as it touched, becoming part of the ocean inside. Not sharp, not heavy, only soft, only still. He breathed in slowly, and the sea of stillness answered. It didn't speak exactly, but it welcomed him in its own way, like an old friend who doesn't need words. You have arrived. Not to end, but to return. And in that quiet confirmation, Elian began to float downward, not sinking, but surrendering. The sea opened gently, layer by layer, each one quieter than the last. First came the layer of forgetting, where thoughts unspooled like threads and drifted away, light as dust motes in sunlight. Ideas, lists, questions, they melted without resistance, like frost on warm hands. Then the layer of unknowing, where even the need to understand slipped away. No need to solve anything, no need to be clever, just a slow awareness of the body exhaling tension it had carried for far too long. Below that, the layer of glow, where all that was left was a pulse, slow, rhythmic, gentle, not a heartbeat, not quite, something more universal, a lull. It was here Elian knew he had crossed into true dream sleep. He was no longer drifting alone. Around him, others floated, two beings from across the galaxies. A miner from a cold red moon, finally asleep beside his holographic dog. A queen from a sky palace, crown removed, dreaming of being a child again. A child from Earth, lost in a world of fireflies. No one touched, no one disturbed, yet they were together in the most delicate way, wrapped in a stillness that bound nothing but held everything. Elian no longer felt time, he no longer imagined Lysaria. He didn't even remember Samnara, not as a place, but as a feeling. A slow warmth radiated from his core, not from a source. It was the source. He had come home to himself. And in that final, perfect quiet, a single thought, soft as a whisper, soft as the silence between stars, passed through his heart. You may rest now. And so he did. Somewhere far above the sea of stillness, stars turned in slow spirals as they always had and always would. Elian drifted deeper now, beyond even dreaming, into the place beneath sleep. The place where there is no memory, no thought, no story, only presence. Around him, the ocean of rest thickened into velvet shadow. Not darkness, not emptiness, only quiet. A sacred, full-body quiet that filled every space inside him. The last remnants of his waking mind, the edges of memory, the outlines of language, the faint trace of I had softened until they were no more distinct than dew on a petal. He was still here, but not as Elian, not as a listener of stars, not as a traveler. He was simply being, and that was enough. Above, the light of Samnara dimmed as the dream current eased. Boats slowed. Beings of starlight curled into sleep. Leora stood at the edge of a spiral cloud, wings folded, watching the slow descent of her newest visitor. A soft smile touched her lips, not sad, not expectant, simply peaceful. Behind her, the trees of the dream forest began to sway. Their roots shimmered with soft silver, humming lullabies to the quiet heart of the cosmos. The observatory dimmed its pages. The owl tucked its head beneath a wing of constellations. Even the stars themselves, once wide-eyed and listening, blinked slowly, then closed. And Somnara breathed once more long and low, the breath of a universe in slumber. Elian would sleep for as long as he needed, and when he awoke, whether in a pod orbiting Lissaria or beneath a tree on a glowing island of dreams, he would carry with him the quiet hum of this place, not as a memory, but as a feeling. The way you remember peace, not in words, but in the way your body sighs without being asked. And as the last ripple faded, a final whisper drifted across the sea of stillness. You are safe. You are held. You may return whenever you need to. Then all was still. No movement, no sound, only the steady, quiet unfolding of rest.